This is the Unstoppable Podcast, where we are dedicated to bringing you comprehensive insight into the ways and purposes of God. We hope this podcast will encourage, equip, and empower you with meaningful insight from the Word of God to receive His promises and live a life without limits. As you realize your potential, you will join a dynamic group of passionate people who are actively bringing the unstoppable power of heaven into the darkest places on earth. Here is your host, Justin Self.
All right, so today we have Annie of Sunroom Coffee. Hi, Annie. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, hi, Justin. Thanks for having me.
This is amazing. Okay, so we've been talking about this for a long time. And here we are. We're doing it.
We are doing it.
Yeah.
I'm really hyped up on the coffee right now. I'm ready to go.
Yes, I may or may not have made a coffee for you.
I have 4 drinks right here, Justin. That is something else.
Well, it's a little intimidating because you're, the manager and the kind of the spearhead of this coffee shop.
Yeah, I'm kind of judging your coffee just made me right now.
That's fine. That's
kidding.
Fine. All right, so I'm gonna step out there. What do you think of it?
There's room for improvement, but it's pretty good.
Thank you.
I like the latte art you did. It kind of looks like a little dragon.
A dragon? Hey.
Yeah, I kind of saw it at the beginning, but now it's kind of foamy and not as much that way.
So would you believe me if I told you I was trying to make a dragon, or it just...
Probably not.
No, it's like looking at...
You leave it up to your own interpretation, right?
Yeah, I literally just poured and I was like, okay.
Yes.
Let's see what she thinks. No, thank you. I'm really excited because Sunroom is amazing and I've had a really good experience with Sunroom, and I know we've talked so many times, and so I'm really excited to just hear your heart and hear your passion and hear your thoughts behind Sunroom, but also just you as a person, as a leader and as a person who's, kind of pursuing your dreams and doing things. But also you're such an encourager of people, and you do bring light and brightness to everyone around you. I know it almost sounds cliche maybe, but like Sunroom,
Yeah.
But you are, there's a reason why Sunroom is named the way it is, I think, because you do bring passion and leadership and love and kindness to everyone around you. So, and I can feel that when I go into that shop. So
yeah,
I'm excited. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about Sunroom and how it got started.
Okay, so Sunroom was started about 2 years ago. January 7th, 2011 is when we started up the shop. It was a long process going into it. 2 years before Sunroom opened up, had visited this coffee shop out in Mammoth. And it was a coffee shop that supported local missionaries in the area. And I just was really enthusiastic about that. And I was like, wow, that is such a cool idea. I've never seen that concept before and that business model. And there was a space on our church campus back in Atascadero, California, that was vacant, and it used to be the station where kids would come at lunchtime and hang out, have cup of noodles, and it had been closed down for 2 years, but it was a big space in front of the church, and I was just so passionate, being like, wow, this could be what I saw out in Mammoth, but kind of magnified. And so I started kind of brainstorming the ideas with people, and I have a dad who has been in business for years, so I kind of started to pick his mind on things, and then I made a whole PowerPoint presentation of what I wanted Sunroom to be, like the colors of Sunroom and the concept or mission, the values that I wanted to implement there. And I presented it to a board of deacons at the church and then a bunch of other business partners. And they gave me the green light to go for it. I don't think I knew how hard it would be going into it. They gave me $7,500 as my budget. And for a coffee shop, that is a very small amount of money. But with the help of incredible volunteers and friends and just people that just supported the community and wanted to see the community become more of an outreach spot, just jumped on the vision with me. And every single Sunday for months, we would get a team of 20 to 30 friends in there, including family members. And we would just paint the walls, and we went thrift store shopping and kind of redesigned the whole interior side of it. And then slowly we built a stage in there and just made it kind of more of a community effort space.
So I saw that in your notes.
Yes.
And so I did some research online real quick.
Yeah.
And here's what it says. If you say, what does it cost to start a coffee shop?
Yes.
And I'm looking right here. It says the average cost is, with seating, of course, which is what you have, between $80,000 and $300,000.
Oh, I know.
And you start out with $7,500, as in 7500.
Yes.
You're missing a zero. You know that, right?
Yes, I know.
That's so cool. I remember you told me about that. in the beginning, and I'm like, what? Like
Yeah, I didn't think it would be possible, but there was a really close friend of mine who was an interior designer and decorator,
Okay.
and she loves thrift store shopping and Facebook Marketplace and
Wow.
all of those cool resources. And so she was like, hey, can I help you with the interior side of things? And really kind of took charge of that, and then would hire on like friends that would go with her thrift store shopping and found a bunch of furniture. And we just painted over all the furniture like white and kept it more clean, the space looking, and then kind of just built from there.
Yeah. Because when I started coming to the Sunroom, it was because Caleb goes to school, as you know, right there. And you were actually his teacher.
Yes, I was.
That was so funny.
He was the greatest little goofball.
Yeah, totally. I just remember when I think you and Josh came over for dinner once, and Caleb was like, "Who's coming over? Mrs. McEwen?"
Yeah, totally.
Or
Yeah.
something like that,
Yeah.
And it was just kind of funny.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so I started coming in there, and I think I came in pretty early in the process, but I thought it had been there forever.
Yeah.
Honestly, like when I rolled in, I was like, wow, how did I miss this? Like I've never seen this place before,
Yeah.
but it obviously is well established. And that was what was going through my brain is like, obviously this place has been around for a while.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing. Like this is well established. I just must have not been looking in this direction, driving by every day. So that's what I felt when I first came in, is that it had already been really well done. So
Yeah, thank you.
I love it.
Yes, it's been really fun.
And then when we started talking and we get it, I guess I started coming in more and talking to you and your volunteers and started finding out about missions. Oh my goodness. I was like, what?
Yeah. That's been really cool with Sunroom. Not like only was it just a coffee shop, it was a way to reach out to the community.
Yeah.
So every 2 months, 30% of our profits goes towards different charities in the area. So
Yeah.
we started with Special Olympics. And then from there, we moved to the Echo Shelter, like a homeless shelter in town. And then the food pantry, Atascadero Loaves and Fishes. And just started to like every 2 months, just donate our money to those important causes. So that's been really fun. And it really empowers like the volunteers because they believe in the vision and they also want to support the outreach as well.
How many volunteers do you have right now?
I have, about 70 to 80.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
That is an incredibly high number.
Yes.
It seems.
Yes. It is a big number. They're all incredible. I think what I love about our volunteers more than anything is the age spectrum.
Yeah.
So we have middle schoolers. We have actually 5 middle schoolers working there now. It was so funny training them. I was like, I don't know what this is going to look like.
For real.
But they're amazing. And then we have people in their 70s and 80s working there too. So the age spectrum has been just so fun. And so just cool to see that middle schooler is going to attract a totally different population of people than that older person's going to attract. So it really creates such a diverse, inclusive community.
Yeah.
I love that about it. And all of the volunteers had a whole interview process. Like I wanted to equip them and prepare them for even the middle schoolers for like in your future, you're going to have job interviews and you're probably going to get the job right now because it's volunteer. But I want to give you scenario-based questions and prepare you. So all the interviews were very like thought out and we went over our mission statement, our values. And then I explained to them our values of Sunroom, which I can discuss a little bit later. And then, just asked them some questions and got them on board. I think the hardest part was training that many people.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yes.
I can only imagine.
Yes.
And also scheduling and dealing with that.
Yes.
And so you were, up until recently, you have been kind of doing everything, managing.
Yes.
Human resources, like barista, right? Everything. But now that's changed. Like you're able to step back a little bit?
Yeah. I've been able to step back. I hired on this amazing friend of mine. Her name's Chloe, and she is now the full-time manager. And so I'm still helping with the workshops and live music events, but I can kind of slowly back away and then kind of work on our social media and get our name out there a little more. And then also go back to teaching PE.
Oh man, love it.
Yes.
I want to hear some more about that. I guess that connects with kind of what I wanted to go into next was so I know teaching is a passion for you.
For sure.
But also all this other stuff, like it's all there. What are some of the underlying passions and desires of your heart that you have found expression through Sunroom, but also are, I guess, maybe currently navigating, like currently finding expression for?
For sure. Yeah. It's a good question. I think just when you walk in a Sunroom, like my passion is just all over the walls because you'll see like surfboards that are donated from a really cool board shop in town. And then you'll see ceramic pieces from a friend. And then you'll also see splotches of paint that is from a friend that didn't do a paint job that well at Sunroom. And just a bunch of really cool just community artwork. And that was the whole reason for really Sunroom, is creating that space, and then also just celebrating people and their individual giftings and talents that God's given them. So just kind of really creating a space where when you walk in, you see just so much fun, like artistic, like artwork from local artists in the area. And then also just having students sell their jewelry there. Like I was at the age of 5 working outside selling jewelry at my dad's business in Cambria.
Oh my goodness.
And I remember I couldn't say my R words, so I'd be like, jewelry for sale, $1 a piece. And I got so many customers. And I made, what's crazy is like at the age of 5, my sister and I wanted to go to New York to visit my aunt. And we raised about $1,000 in 2 weeks of selling our jewelry, and we're able to visit my aunt. And so I think just at a young age, I also saw just how much there's so much, like I've learned so much by being in the business realm and by being like an entrepreneur at a young age, and like how can I implement that in Sunroom and create kind of young entrepreneurs as well. So just having Sunroom be a space where like people can show their artwork and they just come to me, they tell me about their art and like what they want to do with it, and just celebrating them in that. That's been just, it just kind of screams community Sunroom, and that's like my huge heart. And then again, more than anything, that's God's heart. Like I'm one of those people that I've had a lot of friends that have been hurt by the church, or, you know, they don't really know God's character fully yet, or maybe their view has been shattered by how someone treated them or something like that. And so I know God's heart is to be like, he loves everyone and he wants everyone to feel included. So that's kind of like Sunroom represents like God's heart in my head.
I remember going to that skateboard workshop.
Yeah.
That was way fun.
Yes.
And I remember there was all sorts of people and all sorts of different colors and all sorts of different outfits. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And it was cool because, I mean, I'm sure a lot of those people would never be rubbing shoulders with each other.
Oh, for sure.
But there we were.
Yeah.
And that, you know, just messing around, borrowing paint from each other and talk. You know, I got to know people that I probably would never talk to.
Oh,
you know, I mean, or never would have met.
It's been so fun.
So stuff like that is really cool. And I know...
And even people that have led workshops, they've said that they haven't ever, like they never thought they would step foot on a Christian campus.
Really?
Yeah. And then now they're in here leading workshops. And then even I have friends that work at Sunroom that aren't believers. There was never a requirement to be Christian to work there, because that's not what Sunroom is. It's just an open space. And so we've had a lot of people slowly actually start going to the church, or even students, because the high school, that's the biggest thing with Sunroom too that I didn't mention.
Yeah.
We have a high school right next to us, and then also a private school. And so at lunchtime, we sell boba there, which kids just love boba.
They go nuts over the boba.
So we get probably 30 to 40 students in there at lunchtime. And it's been such a cool avenue of just connecting with students and just getting them to know about the church a little more, but more than anything, just being there and being a positive influence on their lives, because like after COVID, just people need a community more than ever.
Yeah.
So I think Sunroom has done that pretty well.
And I noticed, like, when I go drop off Caleb in the morning, there's students hanging out either in the shop or around the shop.
Yeah. Or there's skater kids that are like skateboard flipping. And then I'm like, they can't really do that. So I'll like bring out samples of boba, and then I slowly like kind of bring them in the coffee shop.
Nice. So you're bribing them.
I am bribing them to avoid them from getting hurt.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
I know. But it's been really cool, because I think, like, what I've noticed is when students would come into Sunroom, like I could see like, okay, that's a skater group for sure. That's like the more like artistic kind of group. And that's why like the workshops are really designed to reach everyone. So we've done skateboard workshops. We've done ceramic pottery workshops. We've done sea glass jewelry, wire wrapping workshops. And then we've done like photography workshops and just a bunch of different ones to really reach like everyone's individual like talents.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Now, are you guys doing anything is Echo the place that's across the street?
It is, yeah.
And so is that kind of one of the groups that you partner with on a...
Yeah, so we've put our profits, so every 2 months, like I said, 30% of our profits go towards, we rotate through different charities. We started with Echo. No, we started with Special Olympics, but then we moved over to Echo. But then also we did a recent workshop that was a sea glass wire wrapping workshop. And then in that, we taught kids how to drill holes in sea glass, which is also kind of terrifying, because I was like, I'd rather like have it drilled in my hand and not your hand. So I was like holding their hands as I was teaching them how to drill. And then they drilled sea glass, and then they each made 2 necklaces.
Cool.
And one necklace went to the Echo shelter, and one necklace they got to take home.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then they got to write a letter to one of the people at the Echo Shelter as well.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So that's been really fun. So we've definitely partnered up with them a couple times. Yeah.
That's so cool. Oh, that's awesome. I love how your heart is partnering with not just international missions,
Yeah.
but also local missions.
For sure.
I know for me, my heart is very much towards missions in general, but
Yeah.
I personally, I find it easier to get excited about international missions maybe because to me, it's more exotic, there's more adventure, all that kind of stuff. And so sometimes I feel like we can trump up international missions which is fine, but to the exclusion of local missions. And I feel like for me personally, that's somewhere I want to be careful with is like, there's people right here in our neighborhood and we're doing things and I want to be sowing seed into them.
Yeah.
And
I think
being
I
part of
learned that a lot, like when I lived in Taiwan for like a summer because I was only, I think, 20 at the time. And I went with like 2 leaders and then just one other girl, and we were on the sports team. And then they didn't really give us any direction, honestly. Like we were just kind of thrown into Taiwan, and it was a mission trip, and we were a sports program. But like the first week, we were literally just laying in a hotel with air conditioning, pretty much. And I was like, I feel like this doesn't feel like mission to me. Yeah. And then I remember like talking to this older man there that was also partnering up with the other missionaries, and I was kind of frustrated. I'm like, I feel like I should be doing more. I'm just sitting in a hotel room. And he said, let's go find mission, like here. And so slowly every morning we would just wake up at 5 a.m. and go to the local markets. And we got to know so many of the people selling fruit and vegetables there. And then we started picking up trash with the locals and just found mission right there. And that was the coolest part is the 2 people actually leading the trip by the end of the 2 months of being there, they communicated with me like, we are so happy that you found mission on your own because in reality, we are planners and we wanted to give you guys a full itinerary of what to do every single day. And it was so hard for us not to. But the reason why we did that is because we wanted you guys to realize like you can be your own missionaries in a local spot. You don't have to like go somewhere far. You can find it in your community.
That's so good.
And so I think Sunroom has been like, if it wasn't for those opportunities, I don't think I could have seen like how much you could help people just right around you.
I love that.
Yeah.
For me, when I go on overseas mission trips, I think I went through something similar. Yeah. Because it's like, you go over there and then you start looking around and you're like, wait a minute, it looks different, but there's still people going to work. There's still supermarkets and, there's still traffic. Like it's the same thing. For sure. And that's something Josh and I have talked about is just mission in general. Like it shouldn't be that you go to a foreign country and you just like go in there like being like, I'm going to change this community and I'm going to like be there for 2 weeks and then leave. Yeah. As opposed to like, I'm going to integrate like just new steps into their life to make it easier for them. Yeah. And so when I'm back, they can still continue to like move forward as opposed to just like leaving. Yeah. And then bringing all of your tools with you and you're like, bye. Like this one-hit wonder, you know? So I think that's something that's so powerful about missions, but kind of reframing it in a way where it's like you're not just stopping, you know, them from their creation and moving forward. Okay, so speaking of creation and mission and all this, why don't you tell us a little bit about Sunroom's mission? Because I know the word create is in the values. Yes. So why don't you tell us about the mission of Sunroom and then also your core values?
So we're a nonprofit organization linked to a church. That's goal is to create an environment where everyone feels comfortable, but also be an outreach to the community. So that's kind of our key mission. And then that was discussed, again, with every volunteer that was hired. And then there's 4 values that kind of go underneath that, which is create like crazy, discover what you can do, love thy neighbor, and I'm trying to remember, be light. So those were the 4. And then create like crazy is just, we want it to be fun. Like that's the biggest thing is like just your talents. Like you want it to be something exciting and empowering to that person. So for example, we'll make drinks at Sunroom where it's, like one of the volunteers will come up with a really funky drink and it's the Luke special for the week, you know, and just trying to like create that fun. And then also when it comes to like discover what you can do, the other value, it's kind of goes hand in hand with create like crazy but it's let's lead workshops together. Let's find people in the community that have artistic giftings that could be expressed better or like shared with other people. So discover what you can do. We really want it to be a place where people discover their giftings and can share that with other people and inspire them in their own giftings. So that's kind of really important. And love thy neighbor. That's just such a good principle no matter what, where I told them that it's so important to love the people beyond the counter for sure, like our customers, but honestly just as important as the people that you're working with behind the counter, because they're going to see that. Like the customers that come in, if there's some drama or anything, or not even a positive energy, like they're not going to want to come back. So like who you are behind the counter shapes the environment of the coffee shop. That was just really like being loving to one another. That's so important. And then just be light. We want to show God's love, and show God's light. And so the way to do that is when just a customer comes in, they are the only person that matters at that time. You are wanting to like just focus in on them and just be kind and inviting, because again, that'll just create such a better atmosphere.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Tell me about these making it fun bullet points here. What's this leftover mystery cup stuff? What's this about?
We have so many weird things that we do at Sunroom.
I don't even know what any of these are.
Okay, so if you go to our Instagram, it's so funny. We have like this whole highlight reel that's just fun in the sun.
Okay.
And it's all of the funky things we've done at Sunroom.
Okay.
But one of them is, so mystery cup. That was just kind of gross. We did that for, but then I was like, someone could get sick from that.
Oh my gosh.
But we did that the first like probably half a year of Sunroom.
Oh dear.
Where throughout the day we make a lot of blended drinks, but then there's leftover parts of the blended drinks. And so we had a mystery cup and we would just pour all of the leftover parts into the drink.
Oh,
and
that's
then
fun.
we would do a competition, some like silly competition. Whoever lost the competition had to drink from the mystery cup.
Oh.
And they had to like drink all of it.
Oh no.
And honestly, it was really fun. But then what ended up happening is usually I was the one to close down the shop. So I was the one that usually had to drink the mystery cup. And I was like, I don't think I want to do this.
Who thought of this idea?
I know, right? So that was the mystery cup. That was fun. We've done boba ball shots. And that's where you just stick, the boba in the straw. And then we have a target.
Oh.
And we try to aim it at the target.
That kind of shots.
Yes.
I thought like you were taking shots
we've
of
done that
boba.
too. We've definitely taken lots of shots of boba.
Okay.
But we've also just spit boba at things.
Oh my gosh.
So that was another one.
Okay.
Probably not the most sanitary. We've done fashion shows when it's really slow at Sunroom.
Okay.
We have this booth that's Funky Fine. So that's another local artist.
Yeah.
She brings all of her thrift store clothes or like really beautiful clothing. And then we're like, we're going to showcase her stuff. And so we would change into her like cute clothes and then we'd do fashion shows and play the most wild music.
Oh
but
my
then
gosh.
one time a customer did come in and we're like all just dressed very funky. And we're like, hello, we usually don't dress like this.
Welcome to Sunroom.
Yeah, but that's been really fun. I think Easter egg hunts. So during Easter, that's really fun. We hide Easter eggs throughout the community, and we write in the Easter egg being like free drink at Sunroom if you found this.
Nice.
So we just try to implement a lot of fun, kind of different things. We do taste test Thursdays. So on Thursdays, we get a bunch of samples out there for the students that walk by at lunchtime and pass it out. And it's always kind of weirder drinks because I feel like students like the sugary kind of fun drinks. So we do that a lot too. One other really fun kind of weird thing we do at Sunroom that the bands love. So we have live music quite often at Sunroom, and we've gotten bands just almost every month from all along the coast performing there. They get to come up with their own band drink.
Okay.
And they will tell me like what they want it to be, and then I will create it.
Nice.
There was one band, hear this out. It was so gross.
Oh no.
It was, they asked for green tea and coffee. Okay, just mixed together with honey.
Okay.
And it was just so bad. Like I try on my guys, like I can't do this.
Yeah.
Like I want it to be actually a good, selling point to customers, not have it be that. And they wanted to call it trash milk.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, trash milk.
Perfect.
Yes. I know. I was like, wow, that's really gonna sell. So we like recreated it into something really, really actually good.
Okay.
And it worked out. But it was so it's really fun though, because we just get bands that they also get excited because it's like something that's different and fun. And we create like a whole flyer about their drink. We post about it. Oh my gosh, yeah. But our favorite is probably the Honey Boy drink.
Okay.
A lot of kids still buy that one, and that's espresso, matcha, and honey all mixed together and shaken over ice and topped with like boba.
Nice.
So people really like that. But that's really fun too.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And you do talent shows.
We do
you do all sorts of crazy stuff.
You guys were the talent show.
We did.
Yeah.
That was way fun.
Was awesome. So that was Chloe's first time doing a workshop on her own. And she did such a good job.
She did such a good job. Yeah,
so that's really fun. We want to do more talent shows for sure.
That was fun.
Yeah, it was awesome. Really good turnout and fun.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. And I think my heart too with that is just, it's a way to keep volunteers there too, because they are putting in 2 hours a week individually to work at Sunroom, and they have many other things they could be doing, but creating that space of just fun and like when you come to Sunroom, you're going to have a good time. Like that's so huge for me because it really gets volunteers excited and makes them want to like be a part of it and stay and just laugh together, because at the beginning, a lot of them didn't know each other, and having fun, like people just bond over just laughing together and being goofy. So that's been really cool.
Well, you told me a little bit about your team meetings. That sounds like more like a party zone
or
something than a team meeting. So I love how you say that you kind of started out with like this business background sort of as a kid, but like you didn't go to school for business. But like here you are and like you're leading people and you're doing business. Like,
totally. Yeah.
How does that go into your team meetings?
Beforehand, I really like to plan it out, very like methodical. Like I'm one of those people that I'm such a nerd. I love planning. I love all of that. So I'll kind of just be thinking like, okay, what season are we going through right now? And just I'm there quite a bit. Like I was there every day. So just watching volunteers and kind of like, okay, like what do I think they need? How can I make this a more fun time for them? So a lot of the time, one of the answers to that is just drink competitions. So at Sunroom on the team meeting, we'll have like we've done sushi nights, which I spent way too much money on sushi night. I was like, maybe I should. And we got way too much sushi. We'll do like sushi night. We've done a vegan restaurant night. So we try to do different food than just pizza, just try to keep it a little different. And then usually the structure of a meeting is I'll just go over just upcoming events or just a need for maybe more workshops, more ideas. And so I really create the space of, hey, I want to hear from you guys. What do you want Sunroom to be like? What do you think we could improve on? Feedback points and like share wins with each other. The wins are always really fun to hear. So we start off the meeting just sharing wins and feedback points. And then we move into kind of more like practical logistical stuff and like just sharing stats of like, oh, we increased like this much this past month and last year, so kind of sharing that to get them excited. And then we'll do a drink competition where every single like new season, we have a new seasonal drink, or even with the kickstart of the school year, we're going to have a new fun incoming school year drink. So we'll all partner up like teams of 3 or 4, and they have 10 minutes to create the best drink. And I usually get more ingredients so they can make it a little more fun and festive. So they'll do that. They'll divide up into teams of 4. They come up with a drink name, all the ingredients in the drink. And then we have a 10-minute timer going, and we have crazy music playing that's really suspenseful and intense. At the end, we all like taste test it, and we vote on the best taste and then also the most aesthetically pleasing. The one that won this time around, we just had a team meeting 2 nights ago. It's Bussin' Boba.
Okay.
Because it's like bussin' boba, for incoming school.
Yeah, totally.
And it's mango, peach, and white chocolate blended together on top of like mango popping boba. Okay. And it's very sweet. I think more the students will like that one. But then there's a blended maple spice chai that's really good. So I might serve that too. Nice. So we do that, and then we always finish with a team photo. And it's been so cool to see how much we've grown in volunteers, because each team photo there's more and more people. So that's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know some of our listeners are not all of our listeners are business people, but a lot of them are, and I know we've talked on the podcast about business stuff before. So I think this is really cool that you're sharing some of this. Yeah, totally. Especially that, you didn't go out and get this business degree. Like you're not an MBA or anything, but like you are just doing it. You're doing what you're passionate about, and it's working. Yeah. And it's making an impact on the community. So I love that.
Thanks.
So I do want to hear more about you, like you personally. What are your goals right now? And then I guess this is the cliche question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? But the reason I'm interested in those things is because this podcast is our podcast, Unstoppable, is all about getting, teaching the word of God, but also empowering people and encouraging people to go after what God's called them to do. And there's so many people that I think are missing their calling, honestly, because they think it looks like I don't know, looks like something that it's not. Like they think maybe it looks like, oh, I have to be a pastor, or I have to be a youth leader, or I have to write books, or I have to preach in front of 1,000 people to make an impact on the world. But in reality, I'm trying to encourage people that, hey, if you have a passion, if you have something on the inside of your heart, and you're talking to God about it, and He gives you, I've said this before, He's giving you a green light. He's always giving you a green light. It's up to you to figure, to step into it, and then He'll give you the red light. If you step out of that. But
I totally agree with you.
But don't sit around and wait, for all the stars to align, because it's never going to happen.
For sure.
I want to hear a bit about your story in that realm.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm like, honestly, really, like, I go to school and I have a plan and that's what I want to do. So it was really hard for me because I was at Cal Poly for kinesiology. Yeah, you're at Cal Poly.
Hey, go Cal Poly.
So I was kinesiology studying exercise science. And then right after that, I was getting my teacher credential and teaching PE. And then I was actually working at a private school where I met your son.
Yeah.
So I was teaching PE there. And then that was hard for me because I saw the space open for Sunroom and I was so excited about the opportunity. But to wrap my head around going kind of off track when I have only ever thought like I was going to be a PE teacher and personal trainer, that was super hard for me. And I had a lot of like pushback from, some family members that were just questioning like, what are you doing, But luckily, like Josh, my husband, he was just so supportive and encouraging. And we just prayed into it a lot together as a couple. And I think we just both saw there's never the right time to start up something big. Right. And then also, like, eventually we'll have kids, we'll have a family, and, like, this could be a really cool opportunity to go for it. I think more than anything, like, there was still reservation until I started seeing everyone believe in it too. At first, it just started kind of me. Yeah. And then it kind of just continued to, like, be more and more people. And then on Sundays, having 30 to 40 friends in there that were just volunteering and just helping out for free. I think that just was like, wow, like this is like what Sunroom could be and the potential of it. So I think that motivated me a lot along. But there was a lot of, of course, hardships in it. But I think, like you were saying, in ways like it's like once one door closed, another door would open. Yeah. And it just kept being like that, where I would be so defeated. And I was like, I don't think I can keep going, because I didn't mention this, but a month before Sunroom opened, I lost my whole team. I started with a team of 5 because they just got busy, and their lives and other things happened. And so they had to step aside. And so a week before the Sunroom's grand opening, I was alone. Like, wow. I didn't have any team members. And I was in the process of probably interviewing and training like 30 people at that time. So those moments were just so defeating and hard. But again, like there was always a glimpse of something, or a customer that would come in, or someone would be like, what's going to be happening here soon? And like I would tell them, they're like, wow, like we are so excited. So there was like all those little like kind of pieces of light that kept it going. And then the night before the grand opening for Sunroom, I just sat like on the floor in Sunroom and just prayed over it. And I was like, God, like this has been like the hardest thing, I really have ever done. I've been so challenged and like broken down and like rebuilt up again. I just really, really pray for this. And I pray not for it to be something that I want it to be. It's for something that you see and you want it to be. And it's just, and then I felt so much peace. Like I was kind of like, okay, I can do this. If I have God on my team and like I can do anything. Come on. So that was just so encouraging. And then Sunroom happened and it just was awesome. And I think the next steps for me, I would love to be more like a consultant for people that are going to be starting up coffee shops. I've already met up like the past probably month with 3 different coffee shop starter uppers and getting involved and just helping them and giving them tools. But then at the same time, I do want to go back to teaching. But I could see myself way down the line starting up a coffee shop again that's like more along the coast, because I love the beach, doing something more like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
I love that. When Jenny and I moved down here, it mirrors what you're saying as far as like we had this huge, crazy vision. We knew it was from the Lord. We heard his voice, so we knew what we were doing. And so we're like, okay, we have the green light, Yeah. And then again, like your story, you had all this opposition or all this negative, all this stuff kind of saying it's not going to work or whatever. But through that all, we were, same thing, like we had little pieces of light, little encouraging things that kind of kept us going. Several things were things that God spoke to us throughout the process in the form of the scripture, of the word of God, he speaks to us. So is there anything you can share with us about that? I don't know about that, maybe even not that during that time, but even in general, Was there anything that God spoke to you that really kind of rocked your world?
I have like a couple verses actually here.
Yeah.
Can I read them?
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so there was definitely times where I had to very much call back upon scripture because there was, periods of time where it was really, really hard being a leader to so many people at Sunroom, but then also having some resistance because we're on a church campus. So there are some things that we were kind of like floating on the line of like community and then Christian. And it's just kind of a weird balance. Yeah. And so that was just hard. And then I couldn't bring volunteers really into that fully because I'm their leader and I didn't want to cause more stress to them. And then there was times where there was, a middle schooler spilling milk everywhere. And I was just trying to just keep myself composed and not be like, how have you spilt milk 3 times in 1 hour? Those kind of things where I'm like, what? And then I think just remembering just God's heart in 1 Corinthians 13:4, it says, love is patient and kind. Love does not envy and boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. If it does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. Yeah. So I think in those moments where I was like, okay, I need to continue to love and I need to continue to be patient because yes, that's God's character, but also I am representing God to these, young people. Yeah. I'm trying to be that light to them. And if I'm impatient, if I'm unkind, I'm going to create some individuals that don't want to be here, or they're going to see that that's okay. And I also want to show that there is resiliency. First of all, being a believer in this world, following Christ, but then also being accepting of so many people, around you. So I think just continually to reminding myself to be loving and kind, and also not envy and boast, because there were moments where I kind of could get prideful where I was like, wow, I did this, but I'm like, this is not within my own power that I did this, so continuing to try to stay humble in that. And then also I think the biggest thing was just in Psalms, it talks about rest, and laying within still waters. Yeah. I think I had to, I'm such a go-getter and such an overachiever. And I think when I would get overwhelmed, I would get kind of stuck in the whirlwind of things and not focus on the things above the whirlwind. With that, I would just get stressed out. I would get anxiety, and then I couldn't think clearly about Sunroom and what it should be and what God wants it to be. And so just reminding myself, I need times of rest. And on Saturdays and Sundays, I am not going to touch anything Sunroom. I need to rest and have that time and that separation, because I'm not going to be a good leader. I'm also Sunroom's not going to be successful if I'm unrested. And so just continuing to go back to that verse and in Psalms, just to, rest and, stay still. Staying still is really hard for me. Yeah. So
I can relate. I know exactly how you feel.
I'm like, what is stillness even? But
boring.
Just really implementing that in my lifestyle is not easy, but very needed for anyone in the business realm or just in life. You know, so important.
Especially for the go-getters.
Yes.
Because I think you're like me, where it's if you're sitting still and your feet are up, you're I'm being unproductive.
Oh yeah.
This is a waste of time.
Sure.
What am I doing? And so that's
learning
a big
to
one.
slow down. Very hard, but very needed. And then also just the last one is just on spiritual giftings. Because all of the volunteers are so diverse and they really do have something to bring to the table. Yeah. And again, that's we're all one in God's eyes. So just finding the individual talents together and just bringing that really to light, again, with workshops, and then also just with their artwork on the walls, and just exploring what they can give to society and what they believe in and all of that too, and celebrating them in that. That was huge. This goes back to 1 Corinthians 12:4. Now there are varieties of gifts, but the same Spirit. And there are varieties of service, but the same Lord. And there are varieties of activities, but it is the same God who empowers them all and everyone. To each it is given the manifestation of the Spirit for the common good. For to one is given through the Spirit the utterance of wisdom, and another the utterance of knowledge according to the same Spirit, to another faith by the same Spirit, to another gifts of healing by the one Spirit, to another the working of miracles, to another prophecy, to another the ability to distinguish. So it goes on and on about that. And just in a way, that's definitely what I wanted Sunroom to be, just celebrating those spiritual giftings that the students have and the volunteers have.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. If people want to find you on social media, how do people follow you and find you and see what's going on? Because this isn't I would encourage people that aren't in the local area, even,
Yeah,
people
sure.
that are all over the world. I mean, just check it out. Go to your Instagram and tell us how to get
totally.
there. But I know you're always posting really encouraging things.
Yeah, so we're with Sunroom Coffee, so sunroom_coffee.
Okay.
That's our Instagram handle.
Okay.
And then we have a website, sunroomcoffee.com. So you could also go there. And we're going to be starting up a TikTok soon.
Oh my goodness. Here we go.
I know.
All right.
I didn't really want to do it, but I think it'll be really fun. And students, so many kids are on TikTok. Yep. And honestly, that's when it'll be funny to do those weird challenges. I feel like people would love to see them chewing down boba and all of the
shoot
gross
them
stuff.
out of straws. I don't know. Who knows?
The mystery cup, you know?
Yeah, mystery cup.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's where to find us. Yeah.
Cool. Mm-hmm. If you're ever in Atascadero, California, that's where your physical shop is.
Yep.
I want to hear a little bit more about, because you briefly touched on this.
Yes.
Teaching more maybe in the future.
Yeah.
And our listeners don't know this, but you and I have talked so many times about this.
For sure.
But you have been overseas. You mentioned Taiwan, but you've been overseas.
Oh, yeah. A lot.
More than just once.
Yeah,
more than
sure.
just 3 or 4 times. You've been, a lot of short-term missions trips and some longer term. I guess what's next for you? What's on your heart next? And where are we going to find Annie?
Yeah,
where in the world is Annie next?
Oh man, that's such a hard question because I feel like I have so many things I want to do. As of right now, I'm going to finish my teacher credentials. So from August to December, I'll be fully credentialed to teach PE and can teach in a public school. Because before it was private, but I would rather probably teach in a public school. So I'm going that route, but I actually might be teaching in Ecuador, January or February of next year, just to kind of get a little bit of missionary experience and see if that's something that Josh and I would really want to do like far down the line. So that's something I'm pretty excited about possibly doing. But we could see ourselves like way, way down the line. Like right now, Josh is a youth pastor and loving what he's doing. And I think we're supposed to be in this community right now, but we could see ourselves traveling and definitely being missionaries at some point. And it would be cool to start up a coffee shop in a foreign country. So I could see myself still doing coffee, but in a different community and still the same kind of structure of Sunroom, being volunteer run and just inspiring more individuals. So that is in the future possibly.
That's cool.
But for right now, personal training and teaching is probably the next couple of years.
Nice. Blending it all together.
Yes.
We have some friends who actually have delivered several high-end espresso machines all over the world and have gone, and we haven't talked about.
I think we have talked about it once.
Well, they'll literally go in and they'll work with local teams of people.
So cool.
Train them to be baristas, so giving them life skills, but also training them at the highest level. These are ultra high-end coffee machines, ultra high-end training, and basically doing that, starting up these coffee ministries, really.
Yeah.
Because these coffee shops are exactly, or similar to what you're talking about,
For sure.
where they serve the community. So it's possible. We have people that are doing this all over the world.
I know. It would be so fun.
Yeah. It's totally
I just love
there.
coffee. I mean, one of the businesses at my dad's shop growing up was a coffee carriage on wheels.
Okay.
So at 5 years old, I was pulling shots of espresso.
Oh my gosh.
And then this is funny. I don't think I ever told you this, but if you go to our website, Sunroom Coffee, there's a photo of my sister and I at age 5 and she was 8, and we're having a coffee party. And we're in really nice elaborate clothing and we're drinking coffee together. And because my mom would throw these massive, really fun coffee parties for us instead of tea parties.
Oh my goodness.
And we felt like the rich and famous. We would dress up and we would do room service. That's what my mom would call it. And she would give us fake money and we would knock on the door and then we would pay her for our coffee party. And then she had this elaborate china set and all of these pastries, and we would have these little coffee parties. So it was always ingrained in me that it's not so much, the taste of coffee, but it's the environment and the culture that you can create on coffee. And so I really see that in my future. I could see myself really wanting to continue coffee. I can't imagine life without coffee.
I love that. That is so awesome.
I know.
I'm on the website. I'm trying to find it right now.
I think it's about Sunroom. You'll see a photo of my sister and I.
There you guys are. Yes.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay, most little girls are drinking tea with their dolls. You guys are out there
drinking
legitimately
coffee.
having coffee
We were having coffee parties.
Wow.
Not all the time because I was a wild child, so I did not.
Well, it's because you're drinking
much
so much
coffee.
espresso.
I know. Right?
That's why.
I know. Right?
Did your mom ever think of that?
I know. Right? I know. So yeah, I've always loved it. So I've been exposed to it my whole life and would love to continue doing something with it in the future.
I love that. Isn't that funny how just this simple resource, it's just a bean, honestly, right?
Yeah.
It's just a little cherry thing with a bean in it. That's all it is. How it, with the creativity
Oh,
in
yeah.
God's heart and his breath and his mind, he uses this little silly thing of a bean to bring people together.
That is so.
What's up with that?
So true. And there's so much of God in that. Like
Yeah.
we did a workshop for a bunch of students. It was for a big conference at our church, and it was a coffee workshop, and they could come and enroll in that class and just get to know more about the coffee bean. And we really did touch a lot on scripture because it's just such a pruning process, you know, with the coffee bean coming from the cherry and like transitioning into a latte that we can consume and enjoy.
Yeah.
It's just a continual refining and pruning process. And even with coffee trees, this is crazy. I did not know this, that they can last for like 2 to 3 years, like
Okay.
coffee trees, but they will only grow if you continually prune them.
Okay.
And it actually creates a better bean and a better taste
Okay.
when you continually refine and prune it. Just as God, like we are all working on things, we're all like sinners in our own ways, and it is continually refining us into more and more his character.
That's awesome.
Just as much like as like a latte is a masterpiece, you know, to a lot of people. And that's like took a lot of pruning and refining to become a latte that we can enjoy.
Yeah.
So there's so much scripture you can touch on with even the process of it being becoming a latte.
Yeah. I mean, that reminds me of like John 15.
Yeah.
Where he's talking about the Father pruning, and he's talking about every branch in me that doesn't bear fruit, the Father prunes. Some of your Bibles says that he takes away the branch, but if you actually look at the Greek, it specifically talks about...
That was the scripture we talked about.
There you go. You know, that he
Yeah.
prunes, he actually props up and he works on those things.
Yeah.
And so,
it's really cool to learn about the coffee bean more because
Yeah.
there's so much in there with scripture.
So what would you say? I mean,
Yeah.
you've been doing this for a while, and obviously you're still learning and growing like we all are.
Yes.
But I mean,
Big time.
you're leading 80 people as volunteers, and actually, have you read any of John Maxwell's leadership books?
No, I really need to read
Okay.
leadership books.
Oh my gosh,
It's so funny. I have not really read that many leadership books.
you are amazing. Okay. So anyway, John Maxwell.
Yes.
But one of the things that I love about what John Maxwell, because John
Yes.
Maxwell is a world famous leader, but he's also a pastor, and he's a Christian leader, but he also teaches a ton of business stuff.
Yeah.
One of the things he always says that really sticks out to me is he talks about how if you can lead volunteers, you can lead anybody, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how a leader should really, if you want to, he basically, I don't know the exact way he
Yeah.
puts it, but man, if you want to get into leadership, start leading volunteers.
For sure.
Because it's different between,
Yeah.
you're not leading somebody holding, dangling a carrot of a paycheck over them and they have to perform. You're working with volunteers who they don't have to do their best. They don't have to do
yeah.
anything. So I salute you. I mean, I'm excited about that. Like
Yeah.
leading volunteers is no joke. And I've been
Yeah.
leading volunteers for years as well. And it's the hardest thing
It's hard,
ever.
yeah.
So give us some leadership advice. Like everybody
Yeah.
listening to this podcast, whether you think of yourself as a leader or you are actually like leading teams of people, it doesn't matter. Leadership is just influence. That's all it is. You don't have to have a title. You don't have to have all this stuff. Leadership is just influence. You're
sure.
influencing those people around you. And so what do you have to say to
Yeah.
our influencers out there?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I think one of the big things was when I interviewed all the volunteers, I really took time to get to know them. And in that, I was able to really actually draft my schedules around, I would pair them off with who I thought they would really connect with. And it was never really a friend of theirs. I wanted it to be someone that was, if it was a middle schooler, I was like, I might want to partner them up with a high schooler that has a similar story as them so they can really connect and almost have like a mentorship kind of
Nice.
the high school pouring into like the middle school girl. And just really like, I would ask them their interest and then I would kind of pair them off based
Nice.
on that. So I think that was one way to like empower them and want them, encourage them to stay there, is just that they really connected with the people behind the counter and they like had fun together. Like that was huge. And then also just empowering them with just, like I said, having them be able to feel free to give me advice, give me feedback, actually tell me like, hey, we want this in Sunroom, and not saying that I'll do it and not doing it. Because that's the biggest thing. It's that will crush your volunteer team, is if you say you're going to do something and you don't actually make it happen. And so I was always really quick to write whatever they said down and then make it happen. And that just shows them that they matter. Their vision matters, and they deserve to be empowered because they have good thoughts and good vision as well.
That's good.
And another big thing is just with leadership, you have a vision, of course, but you want them to believe in the vision just as much that they start seeing it as their own vision as well. It's like you're all seeing the same thing and the same goal and the same outcome. And so by doing that, again, that's just by creating good environment empowering them in their giftings, and then also just being fun and friendly with them and being just loving to them, being patient, like I said, kind, and just someone that they can go to and actually trust and not feel like overwhelmed or intimidated by. I think leaders can sometimes be intimidating, but having that healthy balance of like, yes, you can be like a friend, but also having respect enough that you're like seen as a leader as well,
That's good. Okay, so not all of our listeners, like I said earlier, are either in a position of leadership or are stepping out doing something they think is amazing for God or something. Like, what about the person who's just driving in their car going to work?
For sure.
And they're just working, they're doing the best they can, whatever, and life is hard, and I get that. But I really believe that every single person has something in them, a dream in their heart, something God has put in their heart. And it's just basically to step out and to believe him and to see something amazing happen. And I think everybody has that. And it doesn't have to look the same. And it's not going to look the same. Not everyone's going to go out and start a coffee shop. Not everybody should go out and start a coffee shop. For sure. Not everybody should do a podcast. You know? But what would you say to the person who maybe is in that in-between zone where, because you and I were both in that zone at one point where it was like, sure. I feel like there's more. I don't know what it is, but I know there's more to my life. I want it to count, but I don't know what.
For sure.
I don't know what it is. I don't know how to get there. And maybe, I don't know, maybe you're not like that because you're so driven. I know I went through a very long period of my life where I had a lot of passion and energy and I didn't exactly know what it was going to be. And so I had this kind of moment of when I started to find out what I really feel like God was calling me to do. I had this kind of big grow up moment where it was like we talked about a minute ago, starting something and just going for it, not having all the stars aligned, but just going for it. So you know what I mean? Like there's that weird middle ground where it's like, you're not really sure what God's called you to do, or maybe you kind of have an idea, but you maybe are a little afraid to go for it. I don't know. What would your encouragement be to a person in that situation? Because I know there's a lot of us.
I think a lot of it, again, has to just do with like resting and finding like stillness, at least for me, because I'm definitely kind of go. And I was kind of in like a weird rut of wondering like, okay, I feel like I'm not fully fulfilling what God's calling me to do, but then being okay with just kind of, sitting still and like processing that. I love to write out things. Like I'm a writer. And so just writing down thoughts and just things from the past that brought me joy. So it'd be like, oh, like I loved when this student did this, and like kind of starting to look on past moments and then kind of drafting them all out on paper and being like, okay, clearly this makes me feel this way and this is what I'm good at. These are my talents. And then trying to like realize like, okay, like how do I combine these moments from experiences from the past to like the feelings that I feel when I'm experiencing them and creating that into a job that fulfills all those different categories. So I think that kind of helped me. But then also, again, just really, it's so hard to take that initial step. That was the hardest part for me, where there was so many, like I was stuttering back and forth, like shuffling. Yeah. And then I think I also just started looking into different coffee companies. So I looked into, and if it's not coffee, it's just people that are doing similar things as you. Yeah. And then meeting up with them and just talking to them. I think that was huge for me. And then I was able to meet this woman that has started up 5 different coffee shops in like Bayside area. And she had a year of the very similar experience of like not really knowing what was next for her. And she had to fight hard to start up this coffee shop, but it's been so successful. So I think just finding like business mentors, or not even business mentors, just people that are doing the same thing. Yeah. But that can be intimidating too if you're uncomfortable talking to new people. But I think that's another way to just like put yourself out there for sure. And just get to know people that are doing the same thing and like-minded, because usually they want to help, and usually they have just good tools for you and ways to kind of continue that dream that you're thinking about. Yeah.
I remember everything that I've done that I'm looking backward, and it's like, that was a small hurdle, but like it would be today a small hurdle, but back then it was a 1,000-foot wall. Totally. I literally remember in my brain just thinking about taking some sort of step of faith that I wanted to believe God for, or step out, or do something new in my life that I really felt like I had passion for. It felt like a 1,000-foot wall. Totally. And I was like, I can't climb this. I can't get over this. I remember a pastor one time years ago said someone gave him advice. And so my ears perked up, because this guy was kind of doing, like, he was, a leader that I really looked up to. And he was talking about what his mentor told him. So I was like, what did this guy say? I want to get in on this. And this guy's mentor told him, he said, look, you're never going to be fully ready to do anything, really.
Yeah,
he's like,
sure.
he says, if you get 80%, if you feel 80% ready, he's like, go for it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Totally.
And so that actually has been kind of a rule in my life I've followed. I don't go for it when I'm 50%, but if I get 80%, I'm going to put my foot on the gas and go for it. And I've noticed that I'm really surprised at what happens.
Sure. Oh, totally. And I just remember like the startup of Sunroom, like I remember we created our first like Instagram for it, and I was just like stressed out. But at the same time, I was like, that was like the initial step. Like I had a Sunroom page, and like, so I think baby steps, like just like get your foot in the door and start doing like little steps too. Yeah. Like, yes, there's a leap that probably you eventually have to take, but just starting to see like, okay, when I made that Instagram post, I was stressed, but I got a whole new just excitement within me. Yeah. And then once I started doing that, it was almost just snowball effect of me continuing to like do more things. And then we started the, Facebook page, the, website. And so I think just kind of, you just got to gain momentum by like doing little steps first sometimes. So that really helped me.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And that's what I wanted to get at is that there's no way anyone can jump over 1,000-foot wall. No. But I could do 1,001-foot walls.
Totally. Yeah, sometimes you have to.
And that's what it was.
And sometimes there's big walls that block you for a period of time, but you got to just find your way over it.
You can still do it, So that's so encouraging. And thank you. Thanks for sharing that. That's really encouraging. And I hope, I know it's encouraging for our listeners. Whatever walk you're in, whatever you're doing, and whatever, you feel like, I'm here to tell you, I believe God's got more for you. For you, Annie, for me, Justin, for you, whoever's listening out there, no matter what you're doing, how amazing it is, what you've seen God do, he has more because he's bigger. Yeah,
but I do agree 100%. And then there also are the people, for example, I know this man and he's a mailman and he delivers mail and he has shown God's love more than someone that probably is a pastor in front of a whole church.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Yep. So it's like, if you love what you do, people see that and they are like drawn to that as well. So it's just in your job, like maybe sometimes it's monotonous and you're bored and like you're like so tired of it, but like you can continue to find mission, wherever you're at. And this mailman, he takes time with everyone he delivers mail to, like he'll check in on them and he just like, everyone loves him and everyone knows him, so you can really like create mission where you're at. And sometimes you don't need that big, new dream or goal because you could be living your dream right now. You just haven't really tapped into your giftings in that specific job maybe yet too.
That's good. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes it gets easy to try to imagine it's some golden thing out there.
For sure, but it could be right there.
It's right in front of you, yeah. Mm-hmm. And actually that's what I've had somebody ask me once, how do you do anything or whatever? How do you do all this stuff? And I said, look, honestly, all you got to do is just be faithful where you're at right now. Mm-hmm. And then that's where I heard God's voice. That's where you'll hear God's voice. Totally. If you're trying to find what's next or whatever in your life or purpose or meaning, quit reaching out and trying to, think that it's way out there somewhere. Although I'm a big proponent of goals and all that.
Oh, for sure.
So I think there's truth to that, but I agree 100%. Look where you're at, be faithful where you're at. Mm-hmm, and just, like you said, look for the mission and the purpose. And because again, God has more for you where you're at, I believe. Like you can be more loving, be more kind, make more of an impact.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're seeing it, so.
Yeah, I am.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, it was so fun.
Yeah, this is really good.
Yeah, I love Sunroom, and I love all the volunteers. They're awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Appreciate it so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for listening to the Unstoppable Podcast. For more resources, including previous episodes, blogs, and free downloadable content, visit us at unstoppableblog.net. You can also find us on Facebook at Unstoppable Blog. We hope this podcast has encouraged, equipped, and empowered you with meaningful insight from the Word of God to receive His promises and live a life without limits.